Long ago, deep beneath the land and trees, beneath windmills and stone, laborers mined for a metal to transform the land, to give power to their king, Titanite. There was no way they could have foreseen it, the way it would be used, the way it would transform their land, but deep in those mines they released a miasma. It spewed forth, poisoning the land and its inhabitants. But the king still needed his ore. And so they continued to dig. They dug until they became one with the poison itself. Alright, hi there guys. So let's start with the one part that I omitted from kind of the description, and that is the Covetous Demon. So I omitted it from the story because it didn't really fit very well, but that's the one thing, and this entire area, it has kind of these stories that repeat themselves. So you have the Old Iron King, who's most likely the Prince of Elkin, and then you have Mytha the Baneful Queen, who was most likely married to the Old Iron King. And he did not feel the same way she did, and so she became, really baneful. She tried to pump herself full of everything you can imagine to make herself more beautiful so that the Old Iron King would, feel for her and love her and, respond the same way that she felt for him. But he never did, and so she became what she is now, and we'll go more into that in the next episode. But we have to mention it because the Covetous Demon is kind of the same story, except he was the one pining for Mytha. So she had this guy who loved her so much, and she loved the Old Iron King, and she was just so hurt that, he wouldn't, about this unrequited love, so hurt that he didn't have the same feelings, yet the same thing was happening to her. I mean, she could have just been like, oh, well, the Covetous Demon, whoever this guy was, he loves me, and he has the same thing, so maybe I should go with him. But she decided not to, so the Covetous Demon turned into what he is now, the Covetous Demon. And you kill him, he turned into this fat slug because of unrequited love. And that's the entire story of this place. The Old Iron King loved the Princess Aven, but he couldn't be with her. Mytha loved the Old Iron King, but he didn't feel the same way back. And the Covetous Demon loved Mytha the Baneful Queen, but she didn't feel the same way. And so you have these three characters that are driven by their love, and yet they can't ever have that. And it's just a really interesting story of seeing how that unrequited love created this environment. So let's talk about that. You have these laborers, I'm assuming the guys with hammers, they're the miners, and they released this miasma, this poison, while they were digging for Titanite. And now that they're immune to poison at this point because, they've basically absorbed so much of it that it doesn't even affect them. And the poison transformed the land, and that's what you've got going on here. And then, in the next episode we'll talk about what they're actually using the poison for now, because they've kind of adapted. Now they're actually using it for something. But it's very interesting. Other than that, let's talk a little bit about what I like to do in this level. So there's one glitch I do, which is a terrain glitch. It took me about, I want to say like 15 minutes to do. I cut it so that you guys wouldn't have to watch me fail for 15 minutes. But it's not easy, or at least not... I mean, I've seen people do it like on their first try repeatedly with, a pretty good precision, so it's definitely doable, but the amount of time it saves you versus just flipping the switch, opening the door, and getting to the bonfire is so little. But I wanted to show it just in case anyone hadn't seen it. Basically, it's where you climb up the ladder. It's already played through, but you climb up the ladder where the two I don't even remember the name of the enemies, but they shoot the giant black fireballs at you, and they do the most damage in the entire level. You basically climb up the ladder past them, and you jump and run around the rock, and you can kind of just skip the entire bonfire area and that middle area where there's holes in the ground that you can fall into if you want to get certain items and stuff. One other thing of note before...